So the big question is, guys, is Marvel Comics now in serious trouble? Now, last week we found out Disney had finally gotten rid of Ike Perlmutter, and with that news, many fans rejoiced. But this begs the question if we've opened the door to something that could be much worse for Marvel Comics moving down the road. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about the future of Marvel Comics. Well, last week when we found out Ike Perlmutter was leaving, many of us were wondering about the future of Marvel Comics. That seemed to be a point that was glossed over by many people because Marvel Comics is indeed part of Marvel Entertainment, and that will be absorbed into Disney proper. Now, Disney has a history in comics, but it hasn't always been very successful, and I think many fans are a little bit concerned about what's going to happen going down the road. Now, Perlmutter was the latest in a large group of Disney layoffs, which, according to reports, was looking to eliminate about 4% of the corporation's global workforce. That's 7,000 people. Now, this found Marvel Entertainment being folded into the larger Disney business units. But what this means for Marvel staff and Marvel Comics still very much feels up in the air. Now, to be fair, Disney has a fairly robust publishing wing already. And if you've been paying attention, you know they've released multiple books based on Marvel properties for all ages since 2012. But to be fair, these were not comics. These were a lot of other kind of books, such as picture books aimed at children. Now, many people are pretty concerned with Marvel Comics because this could mean Disney may rely on licensing out Marvel Comics to some other shop. This is something they're already doing with Scholastic in the young reader graphic novel area, which quite honestly is a growth area for comics. They also recently struck pretty big deals with Penguin and Taston for reprint programs, potentially giving several other avenues for Marvel Comics to get published. Now, to be fair, from a money-making perspective, Marvel Comics is a pretty important IP for Disney. Now, the MCU and all the merchandise that supports that is immensely profitable, and basically can't exist without the Marvel library of comic canon to base and build a lot of their stories for them. But, as a publisher, quite honestly, Marvel Comics really isn't much of a goldmine. Low-level superhero comics almost consistently get canceled due to low sales, and in the overall market of comics publishing, the genre is often outsold by manga and children's graphic novels, meaning Marvel doesn't rule the roost in any way, shape, or form like it once did. So where is this going to leave Marvel Comics and what's going to happen? Well, if you're asking me, I think for the moment it's pretty clear. Absolutely nothing. I believe Disney will likely take their time and let the smoke clear before doing anything specific, especially big changes when it comes to Marvel Comics. Now, I do think Disney wants to keep Marvel Comics around, although it very well could be reduced in volume in many ways until the industry becomes a little more profitable and has its own legs. Now, on the upside, this is Disney, and Disney likes to do one thing. They like to be big. I think Disney will absolutely seek to make Marvel Comics as dominant of a force as possible, if not as it's ever been. This is what Disney tries to always do. They want to lead the pack, and to them, there is no second place. Like them or not, for the last 10 years, there has been nothing more dominant than the MCU at the box office, and everyone else attempting to chase them, quite honestly, has paled in comparison. I think, like the MCU, they will want to be the dominant force in this industry and make their presence even more felt, ensuring the dominance of the brand and, more importantly, the IP over the future years and decades. Now, how long it takes Disney to realign all their weapons and get this plan going? Well, that is the big question. When you look at the history of how fast a lot of turnarounds happen with these companies, this is something that's going to be measured in at least months, but more than likely years. The comic industry has been slipping for a really long time, and if Disney is seeking to realign the force that was Marvel Comics and the amount of influence and just sheer dominance Marvel carried at one time in the comics industry, a lot has to change, but for fans, that could be the best thing possible. Now, I do expect them to diversify quite a bit with comics moving forward, and probably do some of the stuff we saw in the past. We got the news recently that 20th Century Comics was spinning out of Marvel, which would focus on the 20th century franchises such as Planet of the Apes. I do think this Disney version of Marvel might look to do the same, expanding their footprint into other areas, much like they did in the 70s and 80s when Marvel took up other IP like Star Wars or G.I. Joe and Transformers and created an era of comics that was pretty special. If Disney can actually pull this off and the future of Marvel Comics will be as big as it was in the past, well, we're gonna have to wait and see.